Big exciting news to start your Friday morning. Oh boy, it is good news. I'm so glad you're here. Big handless reports and focus on your stimulus. As the push is underway to get stimulus approved, one representative is under fire this morning. Wall Street's looking for stimulus and is actually down again on concerns that the stimulus needs to get approved faster rather than later. New reports about earnings. Trump is making a move in Florida, which could ultimately determine the balance of power for not only Trump, but also your stimulus checks. And finally, an old favorite is coming back. No, not your favorite representative. McRIB. If they can only give Congress a bone. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Friday mornings, and I'm glad you are here. Thank you for joining me on a beautiful, cold but crisp day before Halloween. I think this will not be in costume. If you think I'm in costume, then that's a little shady. I'm not in costume. This is actually how I look. But, to each their own. I'm glad you joined me. And we'll be having big developments, big, great news about your second stimulus check, how much, third stimulus check, how much, timing, rounding, and more. And it's a great day. So thank you for joining me. If you've not subscribed to this channel, fastest growing channel on the net, so please do. 305,000 subscribers, I think, now. So let's keep it going. Let's get to 325. Let's do it. Let's try to get to 325 in 2 weeks. How about that as focus? Go to the Fun channel and subscribe, because we're going to get to this together. And I have incredible, great news for you today and throughout the day. So stay with me throughout the day with 5 hours of programming here on LALATE. Also, like this video. It's helping in the algorithm, so the video appears higher in the rankings. Let's start with the breaking news this morning shortly. But first, let me go over what's happening minutes ago. First, Wall Street is looking at new levels this morning, the lowest levels of Wall Street since the pandemic hit. Oh yeah, this was not what President Trump betted on. Massive lack of policy stimulus is ripping through Wall Street as stocks trade down amidst earnings calls not particularly robust and calls from Wall Street to get stimulus done. Second, more concerns about lack of stimulus here, as we see lockdowns in Europe, France, and Germany being announced for this week to carry them all the way to Christmas. And now there's concerns, where is our stimulus? Because we expect lockdowns as well. Third, earnings reports are showing the impact of the pandemic with no stimulus, especially Apple, down 3.5% overnight. McRib is back. Oh my goodness, just in time for some fake food. No, I'm just kidding. I adore McRib, if we can only give Congress a bone. And then finally, Florida, which is really the key to the president winning re-election, and certainly the key to the Senate being stayed as Republican. Ultimately, both candidates need to take Florida to win the presidency. So what's going on overnight? Big questions about where your stimulus is, and it's tied to Florida. All right, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news is Wall Street. The breaking news remains Wall Street. As I told you a week ago today, that over the next few days, all the way up to at least the day or two after election night, you will see uncertainty on Wall Street, which will ultimately get your second stimulus. Wall Street is very vocal. Wall Street is very loud. Joe Biden is being funded by Wall Street, and President Trump looks to Wall Street for his economic indicators. So it's no one that we should really ignore. Wall Street is generally correct about all this stuff. And what they're talking about today is lack of stimulus. Lack of stimulus. And today, Wall Street is down. It's down sharply. It's down not, massive 1,000-point drops, but the point is that after the series of progressive drops over recent days, Wall Street is now at its levels of when the pandemic hit, March levels. This is not good, folks. This is not good, because ultimately it's saying, one, we need stimulus. Two, We can't have more lockdowns without stimulus. 3, there's concerns about Europe that they're having lockdowns and we're next. 4, there's concerns about election uncertainty. And 5, there's questions about whether any of these people are getting third stimulus getting ready. Let me go over what I'm talking about. First, Wall Street's deeply concerned that all the good, great, wonderful economic news that you saw this week, low new jobless claims, growth of GDP, new home starts, auto sales, things like that, were all as a result of stimulus in March, not a result of what's happening now. And they're saying, okay, that was really good. We went on lockdown in March, and then we rebounded April, May, the economy, not particularly you or me, but the economy rebounded. Now they're saying, okay, you can't sit back and say that's sufficient. We're going to go right back. It's called a double dip, meaning you're going to go back down. They say you need that stimulus in place already, and you should have had it in place in August. We're talking about second stimulus. We're talking about your second stimulus check. We're talking about your second stimulus round of enhanced unemployment benefits. We're talking about hazard pay. We're talking about these things in place as of August for us now. Well, guess what? We don't have anything in place since August, and now we're here. And Sharon Brown appeared on CNN this morning, and I was really just, when I smile like this, it means I'm trying not to show I'm pissed on camera. That's what I'm trying to do. He said, well, you know what? We'll get it done in January. Oh, no, Sharon Brown. That's not how the economy works. Wall Street is saying that you need the second stimulus now, having passed in August, so that the impact of it filters to the economy. What am I saying? Let me explain it very simply. When you pass stimulus, its impact on the economy takes a few weeks. It's not instant. When we talk about stimulus check, we all know that it could land in your hands within 10 days if it's sent out by Treasury, not any other way. If you're set up for electronic receipt, if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits, or anything like that, or you pay your taxes electronically, you could receive a stimulus check within 10 days. That's incredibly good. If you're not electronically set up, then another week for paper checks. That's also really good. And that currently, the parties are both talking about one stimulus check, anywhere from $500 to $1,200. I mean, it's just bogus. It's too small. But the point is that you get that stimulus check, and then at that 10th day, that impact of that stimulus check on the economy and you is really felt over the next 30 days. Because ultimately, you're going to use the stimulus check to pay your bills, to pay your rent, to pay your electric, to pay your water. So the impact of your stimulus check is pretty darn fast. Now, when we're talking about enhanced unemployment benefits, like the $600 a week or $400 a week, which Sharon Brown said, we'll deal with that in January. No, Sharon, you need to deal with it now. That takes weeks, if not months. First, it has to be passed. Then they have to send the money to the states. Then the states have to process the applications. Then they have to send them out. This is presuming you are already on the system. But, this channel dates back to April 25th, before the programs even went live on April 28th. And I saw Florida, Texas, I think it was Ohio, even his state, they did not get ramped up for enhanced unemployment benefits for many, many weeks. So you see how things have to be passed ahead of time. Finally, hazard pay. That $10,000 that should be in your hands right now, that is owed to frontline workers who worked during this pandemic. If you worked during the pandemic from January to the present, $13 an hour times the number of hours you worked. That is even more slower to get in your hands. Why? And like you rent is also the same thing. A rent aid. They want to give you rent money. That's even slower. Why? Because they have to set up the agency. Then they got to put the money in the agency. Then they have to say, okay, the agency set up, now go apply. Here's where you go apply. You go on a website, you type in your name. Don't ask me where the website is. It hasn't gone live. I'm giving you how it would happen. And you would go on a website, which doesn't exist yet. You would type in your name, you would apply, you'd wait, you find out whether you got approved. And then they would set up your banking account, and then they would set it up, and then they set up the landlord, and then you'd finally start getting the money rounded out. It's a long process. It's not a few days. It's not a few months, but it's a few weeks. And so the impact of that takes months to filter through the economy. Same thing with PPP, EIDL loans. These things are slow. The great news is that I had one viewer who's been watching my videos, and I've been telling you to go get an EIDL loan. If you qualify, he's been watching my videos, and he is an Uber Lyft driver. and he went and followed my advice, and he went and applied. He knew he wasn't $100,000 a year Uber or Lyft driver, but he had a couple $1,000s of income last year. He went and applied. He knew exactly how much he was going to get based upon my videos, and he got $8,000 in his bank account within less than 2 weeks after applying because of the videos of this channel. That's a good average turnaround now. That's incredibly good. Unfortunately, Congress is not working that fast. And so this is what Wall Street's saying, is that you need to have this stimulus in place now because it's going to take a couple of weeks to get into the economy. Even if they pass the stimulus package today, the impact of it would not be felt in this economy until probably December. Then the next thing, this is really important, this is categorically important, is that the Republicans and Democrats, not one of them, not any of these, 400 people in Congress, not anyone in the president's cabinet, no one has written the third stimulus package. This is what's the relief that's needed for you for the months of December, January, February, March. You need that. Why? Because the second stimulus package, most of the deal provisions don't go past December. Yeah. So on New Year's Eve, when you wake up, guess what? The federal government's not taking care of you. When you're looking at Valentine's Day, February, guess what? The federal government's not taking care of you. Guess what? There's no vaccine potentially by February in your hand, or you haven't gotten it yet, or you haven't gotten the therapeutic. Federal government's not taking care of you. These things should be done months ahead of time. A stimulus bill to provide relief to the American people in January, February, and December needs to be written right now, if not last month. Needs to be written, needs to be argued, needs to go to the subcommittees for analysis, and needs to be set up for a vote. They haven't even written the bill. Do they care about you? No. Do they care about their jobs? Yes. Do they care about their pensions? Yes. Are they focused on what they need to get done? No. All they're focused on is partisanship, and ultimately the economy is going to suffer because you need stimulus checks for December, January, February. You need enhanced unemployment benefits for February, March. You need rent and all. There's no eviction moratorium after December. Guess what? You can be evicted in January 1st. So these things that they have not teed up are very disconcerting, and Wall Street's reacting to it. Massive policy stimulus, massive positive medical developments, and high hopes for return to pre-pandemic economic levels have provided a solid boost to the markets recently. However, mounting new economic restrictions, particularly in Europe, and new COVID-19 infections have caught investors' attention this week, triggering sharp losses, says a strategist at BRP Partners minutes ago. Second, Europe and Germany and France are all going on lockdown, different versions of lockdown. In France, for example, their lockdown will start today and will end on December, I believe it's December 31st. It's a comprehensive lockdown. Can't leave your home unless XYZ. Very, very serious. In Germany, it's a little bit less restrictive, but it looks sort of like what California's lockdown was when it was announced. Third, earnings. Earnings are taking a hit because of lack of stimulus, and this is why Wall Street's shouting, like, get it done. Apple. Shares of Apple fell 3.5% overnight after SecTrite reported a 1.6% decline in iPhone sales and failed to offer investors a guidance on the quarter ahead. So, people did not have stimulus. They didn't go buy a phone. Thank you, Captain Obvious. You don't have stimulus, so I guess you didn't buy a $1,200 phone with your $1,200 stimulus check. Yes. Needless to say, I wasn't buying an iPhone with my $1,200 iPhone before this pandemic either. But maybe you were. Amazon dipped, however expensive it is. Amazon, moreover, dipped 2.2% even after the e-commerce giant reported massive third quarter earnings. Google soared 7% after its quarterly results topped expectations. However, Twitter fell 15% after user growth fell short, says CNBC. So it's just not particularly strong, robust details across the board. And with that, can we have a bone? No, but you can have some McRIB. Yes, McRIB is coming back. For the first time since 2012, McRIB will be returning to all of McDonald's 14,000 restaurants. And it's its biggest launch since 2012. It will be coming on December 2nd. So, really exciting news. Then Florida. Florida is the path to get your stimulus. as Georgia is in the Georgia Senate race. You see me talk about that a lot. New data today talks about Florida. The reason why Joe Biden and the president of the United States were both in Florida yesterday is because of two things. One, the president either candidate needs to win Florida to win the presidency. It's too close a race, and there's too many electoral votes for Florida. Remember, you need 270 electoral college votes to become the president, and there's too many up in stake in Florida. But new reports out of Florida also show that Nancy Pelosi's House Democrats could be losing seats because of, guess what? Representative Debbie Powell, Democrat of Florida, was elected to Congress 2 years ago, but now she could be losing her seat. She's being challenged by the term limit mayor of Miami-Dade County, very well-known person, Carlos Jimenez, who's from Cuba, who's backed by Donald Trump. What's happening is the Cuban vote may be impacting Florida, which may be impacting the presidential race, which may be impacting the senatorial and House race, and could ultimately determine your stimulus. What's important to understand is that Florida has 29 electoral college votes. And in a situation in which the race is still relatively close on electoral college votes, Trump absolutely needs to take Florida. Biden potentially could still win without Florida, but the Senate needs to see whether or not Florida gets flipped or Florida remains a Republican, and the same thing with the House. What's important to understand is that in recent days, and I'll continue to do later today on our new hit show, Seats 28, and our late night, our afternoon's new hit show as well, The Street and Stimulus. It's important to understand that the path to getting stimulus passed is the Senate, and that ultimately the Democrats have been betting all along on flipping the Senate to Democratic. It's currently a Republican stronghold. And that ultimately, if that path does not happen on election night, and the Senate is retained control by the Republicans, whether or not the president is reelected or not, then ultimately your stimulus relief could come faster, because her way or the highway will not happen. Her way or the highway, or as Sherrod Brown said this morning, you know what? It's all the fault of the Senate. It's all the fault of the Senate. And as soon as we win the Senate, we're going to do this in January. Guess what? If the Senate doesn't go as Sherrod Brown or her way or the highway expected to go, then ultimately you could see stimulus relief faster right after the election. The reason is why, because millions of Americans need stimulus relief, and that ultimately the balance of power would be unchanged. An unchanged balance of power means that currently the House is Democratic, currently the Senate is Republican, and if those two balances of power remain unchanged, then there's no reason to wait to January, as Sherrod Brown told CNN this morning. Ultimately, you get it done now, because there's nothing different in January. Maybe you have a few different people coming in, but the votes, which generally fall partisan, this many people on the Republicans, this many people on the Democrat, still have the same majorities. And so ultimately you would get stimulus relief faster. Not to say I'm advocating for one party or the other. All I'm advocating is to get your stimulus the fastest way possible. If you have questions in today's video, drop in the comments below. Let me answer some of your incredible comments and questions from yesterday. Sharon Rosenberg, they're stalling. Why? Lorraine, how we get the third stimulus when we haven't gotten our second? Because you haven't even got to the first. And why are we talking about the second? It's important to understand, and I'm going to get that comment a lot, and I'm perfectly fine to answer it every single day, is that what Congress is going to do is they're going to not pay you the first, they're not going to pay you the second, and then when you're ready for the third, they'll say, okay, here's the third, and you're going to say, where was my second and my first? Oh, we just sort of forgot about it. It's important to understand you're owed all these different stimulus checks, you're owed all this enhanced unemployment benefits, and what Congress wants to do is forget months, forget payments. Big Rock, matter of fact, this whole country started feeling like a third world country. Cash money. When they did the $600 a week for unemployment, the economy went up 33%. The stimulus is needed, or else. Amen. Patricia, more stimulus makes the economy come back faster. Absolutely correct. Viewers have now watched understanding all the economics of this. I adore this. Charles Rogers. What the hell do I look like voting for someone that's putting me in poverty? No way, Jose. B. Harley, people wear your mask, protect yourself. Kelly Watson, $2,000 a month until it's over. Amen. I love that. Denise, we need our stimulus now. Annette, Would surprise. Toby, I don't know about the rest of you, but this fries my butt. Patricia, we need stimulus. Rio, the job numbers are down because people are running out of unemployment and there's no point to make a claim with no money going out. Shia G, quite honestly, I don't see where it's going. We need the stimulus right now. I agree 100%. If you have questions or comments in today's video, drop them in the comments below. Go to the Finance channel, subscribe, because we're going to get through this together. Amen, we will. Also, like this video. Coming up next is 28 at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time with big developments on what you should expect in these final days before the presidential election and your stimulus and your enhanced unemployment and your hazard pay. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay for LA for more.